Hello everyone. So if you know my content, you know that one of the things I cover quite a bit is dating. I've talked a lot about consent and finding compatible partners and using dating apps. I even put myself through the hell of testing all of the major apps from Tinder to OkCupid over the course of several weeks just to find which one was the least bad. Because even if you haven't used one for yourself, you know that they're terrible already. I don't have to tell you that, but did you know that they're also dangerous? After using all these sites for myself, I wasn't shocked to hear that they could be used for wrongdoing, but I was surprised to discover just how complicit these companies are in covering up that wrongdoing, allegedly. So let's talk about how dating apps don't just suck, they're dangerous. And you're probably already familiar with the garden variety reasons why modern dating apps are such hellholes. There's the fact that they gamify human interaction and incentivize people to stay on the apps for as long as possible, converting dating into an unconscious habit, like the urge you get to start playing that one mobile game the second you get bored, even when you're not having fun with it anymore. Then there's how they have progressively overemphasized physical appearance and reduced the amount of space and time we have to talk about ourselves on profiles, leading to shallower interactions. And heaven help you if you are not conventionally attractive. You're liable to get posted all over the internet for people to mock for daring to be on one of these platforms in the first place. Or people try to make an example out of you. In the modern age where people seem to believe that just existing in public means someone has the right to film you and ridicule you to potentially millions of people online, dating apps are no exception. And so many profiles now are either stolen, entirely fake, or AI generated, and even mainstream dating apps are beginning to feel like the scuzzy sites we all instinctively knew to avoid in middle school. You know, hot girls in your area, click here now kind of stuff. Even otherwise normal real people turn to AI to fill out their dating app profiles or to edit their photos, believing it will give them better odds, which is slowly draining the last bit of humanity from these interactions. And oh yeah, because all these companies just want to make money because, they're companies, every feature that makes these apps halfway usable gets shoved behind a paywall. Don't want people to see your exact location and neighborhood? Don't want to be sorted by geographic proximity? I hope you don't mind forking over upwards of $20 or $30 a month to get these premium features. And about once or twice a year, a story goes mega viral, usually on TikTok, about a Tinder date gone wrong or someone discovering through TikTok that they're all dating the same guy because he has a Tinder account, and it really is just a colossal mess, and it's only getting worse. As our jobs become more online and as we lose space outside of work and school to meet people, we become more dependent on these apps to find companionship. And the apps know this. They have seen the data, and you can get away with a lot when you know you have a captured audience. And heck, I am no exception to this. While I have been lucky to meet several partners in person in shared hobby groups or from friends over the years, I do still use dating apps from time to time. This, even though I know that there is a whole cottage industry on YouTube and Reddit solely supported by bad dating app stories. I know people who have gone through those stories in real life, the folks who have been catfished, people who have been stalked by dates, people who have been forced into cars or cornered in bars, or who have just had plain weird and fishy interactions with people from these apps. And I would just tell myself that I did a pretty good job of sorting through people, that I have a good filter, and I take my time getting to know people before I meet up with them. I do all of the usual basic safety stuff I recommend folks do. Meeting in public, setting up a safety call, driving on my own, and so on. I thought that as long as I did that, I could be reasonably safe, as safe as one can be, meaning a stranger. Also, what's to stop the guy I met in person at a convention from being a total freak either? Just because we met in person doesn't make them any safer than a person on a dating app. I assumed, surely, if people, get their accounts removed for having so much as a too spicy picture, these apps would be doing their best to get rid of predators, right? As long as they knew about it and it got reported to them. I mean, that would be the bare minimum, right? Isn't that what every website has to do to exist? And how about that? It turns out that that might not actually be the case. And I know a few people in real life who have had their dating app accounts banned across all these platforms for like seemingly no reason. Like, I assume like things like falsely being accused of catfishing, stuff like that, with zero recourse, no way to appeal. And I believe this must mean that they would take other reports even more seriously, right? If someone can be perma-banned from every major dating app save Bumble for impersonating themselves, bad actors must be like uber toast, right? It would seem not. As we learned this past winter when outlets like The Guardian and NPR reported on some investigative journalism that had been done about the safety of sites like Tinder and Hinge. Their story begins with a dating app nightmare. A predator who was able to not just slip through the cracks, but openly use match group apps as hunting grounds for vulnerable people. This individual was able to drug and assault many people over the course of years and was even promoted as a standout account on Hinge. You might assume this is because his survivors did not want to speak up, but that was not the case. Many people reported their assaults directly on the apps that they used to match with this guy. One filed a police report. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and none of it, save that last police report, actually helped prevent future victims from becoming victims on these apps. As the reporting stated, quote, even after a police report, it took nearly 2 months for Matthews to be arrested, the only thing that got him off of the apps. By then, at least 15 women would eventually report that Matthews had R-worded or drugged them. Nearly every one of them had met him on dating apps run by Match Group. On October 25th, a Denver judge sentenced Matthews to 158 years to life in prison after a jury convicted him of 35 counts related to drugging and sexually assaulting 8 women, drugging 2 women, and assaulting 1 more for a total of 11 women. Attorneys for the women said much of that violence could have been prevented. And one immediately wonders upon hearing that, how was he able to get away with this? After over a dozen women in several years, how did Match Group, who owns nearly all the top dating platforms, again except for Bumble, how did they allow this to happen? Was he using some kind of sophisticated software? Was he editing his photos, lying about his name or location, or spoofing email addresses and phone numbers or something else? How common were stories like this? And we don't know, because Match Group has refused to release their data. We do know that they have been collecting information on users accused of misconduct for nearly a decade, and this is shared across their entire suite of apps. But despite promising to release this information in a legally appropriate way for years, they never have. Because if we knew the real data, we might be scared out of using their apps. And slowing new user growth, loss of subscription revenue, and lost daily users is scarier to these companies than the idea of being used to facilitate assault by a serial abuser. They hid things. They were knowingly complicit in this. Quote, the obsession with metrics and having to stick with them is frustrating and potentially dangerous. One employee wrote in 2021 after the company learned that the investigative news nonprofit ProPublica was planning a story. This is not the way we were meant to work, and people's lives are at risk. And despite that brief scare in 2021, which led to increased scrutiny on these apps, nothing changed. Trust and safety teams have been gutted, and cost-cutting rules over safety. It seems that, at minimum, these apps know that they have a predator problem and are only doing the bare minimum necessary to avoid legal and congressional pressure to change. To figure out how predators kept using these apps without pushback, journalists at the Dating Apps Reporting Project put their systems to the test. They created 50 accounts across all Match Group platforms and conducted 2 test series. They never matched with real users, only with each other. When a report was filed against one of these accounts, they were usually banned within 2 days, and that's a good thing. And they were mostly blocked from making new accounts on other apps, i.e., trying to move from Tinder to OkCupid, so long as all of their information was exactly identical to what they had used on their previous account that got banned. To simulate what a banned person might do, they followed instructions available on publicly searchable websites like Reddit to get around bans. No fancy computer trickery or data scrubbing required. Quote, across several rounds of testing, we found multiple ways to successfully create new Match Group accounts that bypassed the ban. Each method only involved simple changes in how we signed up and the information we provided during the process. During multiple tests, we successfully created new accounts without needing to change the user's name, birthday, or profile photos. So while they did seem to superficially take these reports seriously, they seem to not do the legwork necessary to prevent even serially bad actors from rejoining as many times as they pleased across as many apps as they liked. And lawmakers, at least not yet, are not forcing them to care about this. Curiously, in 2024, a bill was passed in the House that would have required users to be notified if they've interacted on a dating app with somebody who had been banned for monetary fraud, though it did not extend those notification requirements to people who have interacted with folks later banned for SA. And if that doesn't show you where our messed up priorities are in this country, well, there's probably a couple other things that could, but that's one of them. Although it doesn't matter much because even that bill did not make it out of the Senate and it did not become law because we live in a broken country where I don't even know what they're doing in Congress on a day-to-day basis. It's apparently not trying to make people safer. The Dating App Reporting Project forwarded their findings to Match Group. Their response was the typical corporate pablum you'd expect. Quote, we will always work to invest in and improve our systems and search for ways to help our users stay safe, both online and when they connect in real life. We take every report of misconduct seriously and vigilantly remove and block accounts that have violated our rules regarding this behavior. And in what ways has Match Group gone on to invest in making things safer on their platforms? Well, they're using AI, of course, because they, like most tech companies, have leapt at incorporating generative AI into their services for some reason. They announced that, quote, in tandem with incorporating generative AI technology into our profile, discovery, and post-matching experiences, we're committed to leveraging the latest advancements in our safety tools and features while developing policies and investing in development that will help protect our users from AI-enabled risks and bad actors. So now I guess potentially even fewer humans, if there were ever any at all, will be involved in the banning process for bad actors, assuming that is one of the post-matching experiences, which is quite the euphemism. And oh yeah, let's not forget the safety and security threats that AI itself poses too. Fun stuff, cool timeline we're living in here. They also brought in a new executive several years ago, and this was one who had actually formally rehabilitated Uber's image after scandals and safety concerns had plagued that app. Tracy Breeden, the new head of safety and social advocacy, had allegedly been doing little more than feel-good security theater, despite the fact that people felt hopeful once she joined the team. And sometimes they were literal about that theater part, by the way, with team members allegedly donning superhero outfits at company events, which might be the cringiest part of this entire story. And all the while, they didn't take the time to build up support and investigative units, like the sort that might actually help at their brands. Only OkCupid had such a team, and Breeden did not seem keen to follow their lead and copy what they were doing elsewhere. Like most other sites, they were instead trying to stretch their moderation teams even further and outsource the work to less skilled and lower paid people. This trend continued when former Zynga CEO Bernard Kim became the head of Match Group. And if you recognize that name or you don't, it's because they make Farmville. That's right, the mobile game CEO was at the helm of the most popular dating apps in all of North America. But don't worry, he got replaced by the co-founder of Zillow, so it's totally better now, right? That's a transferable skill set. What do you think? Well, Breeden got canned, and with her gone, the rest of the security team also got further gutted, presumably also to save costs. They couldn't even do the bare minimum and communicate in a timely manner in the Matthews case covered in the reporting. They drug their feet and thus kept women, his victims, in court proceedings for longer, further delaying their healing processes. And what has happened since this reporting has been published? Has Match Group done literally anything about any of this? Well, their share price dropped by about $5 whole per share over the course of the following 6 months, only to then slowly climb back up again and then also fall again. And the market seemingly didn't care about this scandal at all long term. And they got a new CEO, like I mentioned, and a Match Group investor filed a lawsuit against them in August. Quote, a Match Group Inc. shareholder has accused current and former officers and directors of allowing predators to remain on dating platform Tinder and overstating its potential for growing usership. Top brass hurt the dating app giant's reputation and wallet in causing it to misrepresent its handling of safety issues and downplay challenges to gaining active users, a stockholder told the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. Usership faltered because users had grown tired of meeting abusers and predators on the platform, which is quite the accusation there. And the fact that it might take a lawsuit, not from victims, but from shareholders to get things to change just makes my blood boil. If it even ends up doing that, a similar lawsuit about ignoring scammers and using bad advertising practices forced them to fork over only a paltry $14 million, which is a drop in the bucket for a company of this size. And that barely made the news when it happened. So it seems like things are not going to get better on dating apps anytime soon. And this really just makes what we all already kind of knew crystal clear. Dating apps do not have your best interest at heart and are more invested in security theater than in doing the hard and expensive work to keep users safe. Former employees have said as much and state that they do not think that any of these apps are truly safe for users. And it wasn't like these companies could say that they're ignorant. They're complicit. They wanted to hide data from the public, allegedly, and they are still doing so. Employees wanted to do more. They built systems. They wanted to do better, and they couldn't because it would cut too deeply into the bottom line and those sweet C-suite compensation packages. So, what do we do? And it sounds trite to say, but you really do never know who someone is online. You just can't really know them. Anyone can be anyone. Anyone can pretend to be nice over text messages for a couple of days. Anyone can take photos from a friend's Facebook account without being noticed or use ChatGPT to analyze the best way to respond to your messages. I don't want anyone to be paranoid, but somewhere in there, there's a middle ground of reasonable skepticism. Tell a friend where you're going. Share their pictures and their phone number. Have someone track your location. Don't drink alcohol and don't leave your beverage unattended. Don't meet up in private. Don't go back to their place on a first date. Have a check-in safe call scheduled. And if something doesn't feel right, listen to your gut. A short first date is way better than one that ends in tragedy. If it's meant to be, you can have a longer follow-up second date or third or fourth or whatever. Basically, treat this like you would meeting any stranger because that is what you are doing. None of this will guarantee your safety, but it can help reduce risk. And maybe, hey, you can focus on meeting people in real life with shared hobbies or mutual friends. And that might be better. And I hope that one day that this ends up changing. But without pressure from lawmakers and shareholders, nothing is likely to get better. This is not one of those videos where I can end on a happy, here's what we can do to make it okay note. This is more of an educational warning than anything else, because you bet all of these companies are trying their best to bury stories like this one, because maintaining the company's image is more important than figuring out how to cross IP ban someone from all of your platforms or something. And it really is sad that this is what it has to come down to, that one of the few ways that we have that's tailored to meeting other people, we know that these platforms are hiding data and not doing what they could or should be doing to make things safer, because it cuts into the bottom line, and that it's not going to change overnight. And that just adds one giant extra thing on top of the pile of why these apps suck and are dangerous. And like, I'm not going to tell you to not use them anymore. I'm not going to say that like they're full of only predators or anything like that. Again, it's finding that happy middle ground and keeping your wits about you and taking things slowly and staying in public, all the other stuff already mentioned, right? Like, being in the world is dangerous. Meeting new people can be dangerous because we don't really know someone for quite a long time after meeting them. Like, if ever, like, what does it mean to really know someone, I guess? But, you know what I mean, right? Like, you don't really know what somebody is capable of. You don't really know. They can seem really good on paper and then end up being anything but that. So just be cautious and stay safe. And maybe you could even do, I know I haven't really used these before myself because I'm too introverted, but I know people like doing like different like group date type stuff, or there's like meetup things for singles where you all go out and like do an activity together, like hiking or painting or pottery or something. That might be a good way to meet people that doesn't involve alcohol and doesn't involve being alone with somebody. So that might be a better option for meeting folks. But yeah, just be skeptical on dating apps. Something ever seems too good to be true. If they say absolutely everything right all the time and agree with you on everything, that can be a warning sign. Just saying. But in any case, let me know what you thought about this story. This is not necessarily a fun one to talk about, but I do want to make sure people are aware because, like I said, they are trying to hide this information seemingly from getting out more in the public, and I think it's worth covering and talking about because dating apps are a major way that we meet people, and I've talked about dating apps plenty on this channel before, so it seemed like it was worth covering. But again, with that being said, thank you all so much. If you did enjoy this, I make videos every week talking mostly about kink and BDSM, but also dating, relationship, advice, LGBTQ issues, pop culture news, queer stuff, etc. And if you would like to, if you really want to support what I do, you can go over to my Patreon. That will be down below. If you do already support there, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.